All right, what's happening in Vegas?
What's happening in Vegas?
We got a good one for you today. We're going to talk about solar and
all right. My bad.
The good, the bad. Probably, according to him, maybe a little bit more bad. We're going to get into some of the positives, probably some more of the negatives and things people don't think about when they make that fateful decision to put.
I'm going to cover the negatives today. I'm going to cover the negatives.
And I'm gonna back them up on some of those, but I'm not gonna crap on all of it. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know about all things Las Vegas, that's what we do. That's what we cover. We're real estate agents out here in Las Vegas. So if you have any real estate Las Vegas questions, or you want, our information is in the description. You can also subscribe to the channel, and you can click that little bell so you get notifications of when we post videos.
All right, so it's a Saturday morning. You're just relaxing, minding your own business.
I didn't do it.
And up comes this guy on a hoverboard, and he comes up and he might say something. I don't know. I helped your neighbor across the street. I've been helping people on your street. I don't know if you saw me on your Facebook, whatever. He's going to give you some line, and next thing you know, you're signing paperwork, and somebody's going to come back in another week, and they're going to strap $50,000 worth of solar to your roof. Does that sound like a good idea to you, Adam?
Well, right now, I'm obviously a little bit biased. It's not always the greatest. There's a good and bad from it, because I know there's a lot of people that absolutely love their solar, and they're very happy with the purchase. But what we want to get into in this video, and what Darin is really going to hammer down, is maybe some of the things that weren't asked, or the questions that maybe the consumer didn't even know they should be asking before they make this decision, to kind of paint them in a corner, which unfortunately
It really does. It really does. A lot of people are in really bad situations.
Yes.
Let me go over the first thing about solar. So let's say 5 years ago, a solar setup that cost $60,000 might only cost you $40,000 now.
Well, it's because I eliminated immense broker fees.
Yeah. So the price of installing solar has gone down, and it might keep going down. So the panel technology is getting better. So by not buying it a few years ago, you probably saved yourself, a lot of money. So that's a number one factor. The number two factor is what are we seeing here in solar contracts on listings? And
what Darin described, and it's funny because we work in real estate, is not so much different. So I don't want it to sound like we're bashing the salespeople, because honestly, real estate agents like ourselves did this in 2003, 4, 5, 6, signed the dotted line. Nobody, and honestly, solar until 2022 is very unregulated as far as the financing goes. So we've been guilty. We needed legislation to come in and correct us, and now that is starting to happen with solar. Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing the ramifications of that, and we're seeing a lot of, let's say, additional extraction that I find to be very unfair to the clients and to the customers.
Extraction's a really good way
to really get these financial institutions out of really hot water is really what I would say is happening, and we're going to explain that in a little more depth.
So one of the things we're really seeing here is I'm running into a lot of the installers.
It's
gone out of business.
Yeah, it's installed the equipment manufacturers.
Yeah, so it's mainly the installers going out of business that I've been personally seeing. And what happens when the installer goes out of business is there's no longer a labor warranty. There might be a parts warranty. And
see, if the equipment company,
if the equipment company's still around, there might be a parts warranty, but there's no labor warranty. So sometimes I've seen them refuse to send the parts to just you, right? So, and what's happening is, if there's no warranty on it, some of the financing companies are refusing to let it transfer.
Well, and in defense of these financing companies or these labor companies, whatever, would you, if you found out all the equipment that was insured and that had warranty on it is no longer even in business. So there's nothing warranty. From the financial end, I can't blame.
Why would you? Yeah, no. From the financing end, it's got to make sense, right? So all of a sudden, you've got that, remember that $50,000 in the roof? Well, it no longer has a warranty, right? A labor warranty. So you want to sell your house. Let's say something happens and you had a change in life and you need to upsize, downsize, you need to move, whatever it is you need to do. Now you have negative equity in that solar.
So what I want to break down is some of the things that we're told. A great example is in 2020, before all this legislation kind of got put in and things got changed a little bit in the solar industry. I had a client call me up, smart man, very business savvy guy. Say, hey, I'm going to put solar on my house. We were listing the house in a month. I go, why on earth would you do that? And he goes, well, I heard it adds $50,000 of value. Now, is this salesperson's fault for lying? No, I think he's probably told that by his superiors or whoever he's trained by in sales.
It's the salesperson's fault. I mean, no, I think it's a lot of solar people that words that come out of your mouth. Well, yeah, but if I don't do my due diligence and I give my clients some information isn't correct, then it's my fault. So, at the end of the day, it makes selling your house a lot more difficult because the buyers, they don't want to pay the premium that you paid for your solar, right? The banks don't want to finance the premium you paid for your solar, right? So when the appraiser goes out there, he's not going to give you $50,000 in value.
Right. I don't want to break this down, guys, just so you understand exactly how much solar adds. If you have, let's say, a $40,000 balance on yours and you're paying it off, it adds exactly zero would be an improvement. If anything, it could detract some value. Depending on the financial institution, you could be forced to pay it off. I've seen a lot of things like that happen, but I would say zero added value on a financed solar system right now is probably your best case scenario. If you paid $40,000 worth of solar, I would expect maybe $10,000 to $15,000 back if you compared to a property that didn't have solar.
At the moment.
Does completely paid off now.
At the most.
I would say 10 to 15. So it's almost as like if you put a $100,000 pool, you're going to get $30,000 to $40,000 back in value. I would say
it depends on time of the year. Sometimes pools perform way better.
Depends on area. And summerland, it's much higher. So
I've seen pools give you dollar for dollar. I've never seen solar give you dollar for dollar.
No.
So if you're out there and you sell solar, more power to you. We're not trying to bash on you. We're just trying to let.
And again, Walters, I emphasize, I was not licensed in 2004, 5, and 6, but I know a lot of great people that sold homes during the adjustable rate mortgage time that thought they were, doing the Lord's work, for goodness sakes, and putting a lot of people into homes as we had our high of homeownership in 2006. So it's like, in that regard, we're not here to judge it. Talking about the actual behind this, I want to be very clear on that. For anybody that sells solar, I know some people that do very good and they really believe in what.
And they're awesome people. So let me give you something on solar. If you're going to buy solar, get the cash price. The cash price and the finance price are completely different, right? They add in a shop fee. If you want to save up, if you have the money and you want to add a little bit to your, and you go out and you say, hey, listen, I want to buy this X, Y, and Z system here. It's going to cost me $23,000. If you have the $23,000, buy it. I wouldn't finance solar. It's like financing your backyard.
I would actually, if I was going to do it and I was going to make that commitment, again, I wouldn't make a solar commitment if I wasn't planning on staying in the house for 10 to 20 years. To be honest with you, because the solar, a lot of people don't realize it's not like you take the solar to your next house with you. That actually is an attached part of the real property. So it stays with the property. A lot of people don't really realize that one.
And the buyer wants to see all sorts of information on the solar. They want to see all the.
I'll tell you what, as a buyer, they want to see all the information.
They want to see all the contracts. They want to see the panels. They want to see, they want to have it inspected. They want to make sure the inverter, they want to make sure it's all working perfect. So, you're just adding another thing in your house that's high valued that the person may not even be assessing value to, but you got a contract, all of a sudden it's important to them, right?
So too, I think crunching the numbers and really looking at the numbers too, I think a lot of people think like, oh, if I normally have a $400 power bill, really start, maybe, I don't think a lot of people take the time to do the math of how long it'll actually take. If you buy $40,000 worth of solar, how long is it actually going to take to catch up? Because let's say,
Especially if you're paying interest on it.
well, and if the
Or shop fees.
then the solar panel is generating, let's say, 15 cents a kilowatt on average, if you calculate the math over a 25-year period. Well, if you're paying Nevada Energy 13 cents a kilowatt, which is probably about right around average in Las Vegas, sorry about that, guys. Does that make sense financially? Now, if you believe you are really helping the environment and you're part of the solution from an environmental standpoint, I'm not going to stand you.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you're doing this for Pleasant Island, I think you really need to bring out a proverbial T-chart and maybe even break it down with other people you trust.
I'm going to make it
You in the solar sales person.
I'm going to make it simple. Call your agent.
Yeah.
You have an agent.
a great
If you don't have an agent, call us. Call us, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll give you our professional opinion. But
By the way, we also know solar salespeople and people that we trust in the solar industry that will objectively look at a contract and let us know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're just like blindly going to tell you, oh, don't do it.
Yeah.
We are going to give you our objective opinion based solely upon the results that you've communicated us that you're trying to accomplish by buying the solar. So
yeah, and then we know people that we can send it to and have them take a look at your contract or take a look at the offer or whatever. We're not, it's not something we really want to get into. But at the end of the day, just always be very aware of the debt that you're putting on your house, right? This one was about solar, but I've seen people get buried in a lot of different things. So if you're financing something and it's going to be a lien in your house, be very aware of it. Be very aware of the time it's going to take for you to get even, get out, and avoid it at all costs.
The other thing to watch out for is what's happening is because of so many of these companies, not only the financial institutions, but the equipment, the labor, they're all going out of business. A lot, well, not all of them, I'm sorry. A lot of them, so there's a few left standing. There's some of your bigger companies are still going. But what's happening is these finance companies and institutions are kind of being not forced, but if they're going to take over the market, they need to absorb a lot of these loans and a lot of these contracts. So there's what they call, we're going to call it a shop fee. I know that's not the technical term, but let's say they buy the $20,000 owed on solar, but they buy that contract for say $7,000-8,000. When that institution takes over, and maybe that seller of their home doesn't even know they've taken it over, or maybe they got like a little notice in the mail, but they don't understand it's going to affect the sale of their house. Now they find out if somebody wants to transfer, it's an $8,000 fee to be paid at the close of escrow, if they even allow them to transfer.
If they even allow them to transfer, yeah. And then you know what? Here's the thing on the buyer side also. Your buyer, and I've seen multiple deals fall apart as a buyer. The buyer has to qualify for that solar loan also. So if you have a buyer that is very close, and
if you try to, it's questionable,
and they don't have a lot of room. If your buyer doesn't have a lot of room already, you need to run it by the lender first because it's very possible that they may not qualify for that additional.
Let's say you're a buyer out there, you're using an FHA or a VA loan, and that's maybe somewhat out of necessity because of either a down payment lack or a credit challenges, because there's a little more leniency with FHA, VA loans than there is conventional loans. If you're in that situation, maybe be conscious if you're inheriting solar, because I actually had a down payment assistance client not qualify. Now, we were able to finagle, make some magic happen. He paid a $1,000 non-refundable deposit that just gave it to the solar company for nothing to take over this. And this was also, by the way, this was almost 3 years ago. Times have changed, and this was before a lot of these solar companies were going under. This is when it was easier to do this.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of hurdles with it. I would say, we extended the invitation if you got questions about it, and if you're thinking about selling, you have solar, it could be with, 5 years from now, you just give us a call.
Make sure you have an agent that's active. Yeah. So if you have solar panels on your house, let's say you're meeting with a couple different agents, which I definitely recommend. If they're coming over to potentially list your house and be employed, I would strongly recommend asking them some specific questions of anything you could do proactively about the solar on your house. And I hope they have a plan for it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's getting to the point now, and I don't want to be doomsday. If you put solar in your house, great, no big deal. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you benefits that you wanted. But when it comes to transferring your property now, I think it's very, very important now that you ask some of these really important questions to these agents. One being, do you have experience selling and listing a home that has solar? Do you know the right questions to ask? I know particularly at our brokerage, we are working on a questionnaire to ask the right questions.
All right. Well,
Why don't you close us out on this?
so that's it. That's pretty much. I think we've said everything we need to say. Just you got nothing else. If you see somebody rolling by, if you see a hoverboard, just don't answer the door. That's all I got to say. Until next time, thanks for watching What's Happening Vegas.